Hey, I'm a few minutes late here, but I just wanted to jump on tonight. We're just really doing a basic introduction of what we're going to be doing. I don't have times for you guys. I really just felt really strongly in my heart, in my spirit, about what the Father was speaking to me about concerning the man. This is not the first conversation He's had with me about the man. And so it just happens to be the season that I am feeling the unction on me to really go ahead and go in. Of course, I have said many things on many occasions, you know, with regard to some of the things I'm going to speak about, but I want to be more direct. I want the focus to be clearer. Um, and I want to be as much of a help in this season that I could potentially be for my brethren in this season. I so honor and appreciate all those that are coming on, all those that are outside the room, and those that will be watching the live afterwards. Um, I'm not going to be long. I promise you that. I didn't come to stay tonight. I came to just lay just a little bit of foundation um, uh, concerning the conversation. And it's going to be definitely more conversational than anything. Of course, I will use scripture because it's what I believe. Um, Everything that I say is going to be biblically based because that's the book I live by. Okay, I live by godly principles. So therefore, because of the principles that I have chosen to live by, then everything is going to be influenced by that book. Okay, so I'm definitely going to be sharing from that perspective, and I'm excited to be used in this capacity. I believe that there is a great need for the man to stand up in this season, and I believe the best way um, to have that expectation is to give the information. I was sharing with somebody I love very dearly, and a brother of mine, Apostle Clarence. We were just having a brief conversation. That's why I was a few minutes late because I was talking to my brother. But we were having this conversation, and this is the hour that so many things are needed, and I believe that the man has to identify and has to understand um, the need, first of all, for the woman. And then secondarily, he has to understand the purpose of the woman. So there are two dynamics there that I believe are very confused, and a lot of confusing information, a lot of miscommunication and myths have gone out, and people are operating by these false ideas, these false principles, and therefore the relationship that should be very strong between the man and the woman. The adversary has been very successful over the centuries at tearing down what should be unified, um, tearing down the structure of the relationship between the man and the woman, which should be, like I said, very strong at this point. But I believe it's because we are not identifying and operating on the principles that we say we believe in, and we're accepting all of this outside information. And a lot of the outside information, when I say outside information, because you have to hear information from somewhere. When I am saying outside information, I'm talking about sources that are not in alignment with what you say you believe. Like if you are a godly man and you say you believe in the Bible, that the Bible is the book that you are governed by, but you do not read the Bible, nor do you understand the principles of the word, then you're going to be easily led astray by many blessings, brother. Apostolic salutations to you as well. Thank you for being on the live with me tonight. You're going to be led astray by all kinds of winds. You understand what I'm saying? And so let's just kind of briefly just kind of talk about, since I mentioned winds, I think that may be the major issue that we're facing, and it's going to come, it's going to be a lot more expanded over the weeks as I'm sharing the different things that are in my list of things, as the Father's revealing things to me that need to be broken down. We want to talk about these winds for a moment because trauma is one of the winds that is the strongest wind that men have been dealing with, the winds of trauma. And one of the ways, one of the reasons why uh, there's been such an experience with the trauma is because there has not been an encounter with the Word, nor has there been an encounter with the Father. When I say encounter, I'm talking about something lasting. I'm talking about not you just had an experience. I'm talking about encounter, because it's something about the encounter, and blessings to those that are coming in, blessings to you. It's something about the encounter. It's an unforgettable place. Let me share some encounters with you so you can get a grasp of what I'm speaking of. When Moshe had left Egypt, right? He has intimate encounter with the Father, not just an experience, but he has an encounter. And this encounter is with a bush that is burning. Now we know that by all natural principles and laws, that a bush that is on fire should burn up, right? And I love the way the word positions the conversation, because the word says that Moshe identifies, he realizes something is going on behind him. He's aware that something extraordinary is taking place. And I want to say this to that point, because a lot of times, because we have not had encounter, right, with the Father, and that just comes from the seed that you come out of. What something that may be planted in you, that you can readily recognize something. I believe the place that allowed him to readily recognize this encounter was the fact that he came out of his mother and father, which were children that were belonging to a group of people that the Father had selected for himself. So they were in captivity nonetheless, but they were still the sons of Yah. They were still his people. And so I believe that these conversations of the goodness of the Father and who he was, and them being able to identify, just kind of going down a line of, thank you, brother, a line of a path that is line upon line. What I'm trying to say is an order, a path of order. I believe it's because his parents were able to identify divine things that he inherited. And we're going to talk about the inheritance, because I think a lot of what a lot of the men are dealing with outside of the trauma, and we're going to come back to the trauma, is the fact that you have inherited the foolishness that you are encountering now. Your experiences are a direct result of things that you have inherited that are familial things. They are familial things. I was kind of dealing with some things this week, and I was identifying some things just with myself. And I began to go down the line of reasoning and separating things and identifying things. And I came to the conclusion that some of the things that I've encountered, some of the things that are my experience, are a result of inheritance. These are familial inheritances that I have received from my family. And so I had to go back and begin to deal with these diabolic familial inheritance. Yes, we love the inheritance that is divine, but oftentimes until we deal with the diabolic inheritances that come from familiar, when I say familiar, I'm talking about family, and those family places make things a lot more comfortable to receive. They make things a lot easier for diabolic nature to hide. Okay, these are patterns that have instituted a way of thinking. These are patterns and concepts that have been embedded in your person, and you are unaware. So you begin to operate from this place. So let's go back to blessings to you, Minister Anthony Davis. Let's go back to these winds of trauma. A lot of men are dealing with trauma. So let's kind of break down one of the traumas. And I want to get into a bunch of different traumas, but I said I wasn't going to be long tonight, and I promise you I'm not. I'm going to hit a couple of points just to give you a taste of where we're going with this. And then as the Father gives me to come back on, I will come back on and begin to share. I'm not going to give you guys a time. I'm not going to give you a set date. I'm not hearing any of that. I just know that these are conversations that need to be had in this season. So, excuse me, one of the winds of trauma, I believe, is going to be the trauma of these different relationships that you guys have gotten yourself into. The trauma of broken relationships. I don't even want to go back to your mother and father right now. We are going to do that. And we kind of hit on that just a little bit to give you an idea and a taste of that conversation. But the thing that I want to leave you with today, that we're going to come back and we're going to pick up, absolutely. You already know that's my line, unauthorized relationships. The trauma of unauthorized relationships. That is a trauma. That is a real trauma because a man can literally feel insufficient, just like a woman can. But I'm talking about men right now. But I will say to you that a lot of what I'm saying to you, I can identify with because mankind is still man. But I want to deal with this from the man's perspective because what I believe the Father is doing in this season is that he is fortifying the man with divine revelatory information for divine revelatory manifestation. There's some things that he wants to set in order so that the man, the male, can begin to release, okay, what is necessary to release, not only into the earth, but for his woman, for his wombed man. It's a necessity in the season. But if the man is traumatized, listen, if he is traumatized by former relationships, if he has become a captive, absolutely, brother, if he has become a captive of former experiences, then he cannot operably function in a godly relationship, in a divine setting. Because if he does not understand that where he was not divinely authorized, then he'll just begin to group all women together and he'll begin to deal with every woman the same. Because he's had bad experiences, and this is why the Father makes it clear through several people in the scripture, one through Balaam. Balaam says, God is not a man that he should lie. And then Isaiah comes and he says, God is not man that he lies. There are several times where you hear that, and these are because these people have direct experience with him or have encounter with him to know that if he says a thing, surely he will do it. So when you are entangled in your heart and in your mind, when your soul is entangled, when you have ties that are unauthorized, then you begin to have an identity for a thing as if it is the general identity of it and not deal with people as individuals, okay? When you begin to deal with unauthorized situations, you don't even know how to receive properly a divine situation until you recognize. I've been talking to a lot of men over the years, and a lot of people in general, not just men, don't recognize that relationships that we connect ourselves to are either elevating us or they are burying us. Are you listening to what I'm saying? I have firsthand information, firsthand knowledge of this fact. Having been married twice, I have sons myself, having been married twice unauthorizedly, and recognizing the things that I had attained, how I was unable to maintain the things that were being released to me just because of an improper connection. You cannot maintain divine things in a diabolic environment because people don't have the same they don't have the same honor for what is divine. They don't have, to them everything is just fleshly. Everything is really just natural. Everything is carnal to them. They don't understand the spiritual nature of things. So when you've been traumatized because of unauthorized relationships, when something divine shows up, it's very difficult for you to wrap your head around this thing because you've been disappointed. You've been let down. You have been dishonored. You have been all of these things that have come to you as a result of the unauthorized relationship. And if you group every woman together, then when you identify the wife that is the wife of God's choice, a wife that is suitable. When I say God's choice, I'm not saying he selects her for you. He will let her walk across your path. He will let her walk in front of you. You have to make the decision. And it's easy, it was easier for you to make the decision that wasn't authorized because only flesh is involved there. But when you're talking about making a divine decision, then it's more than just your flesh involved. I'm not saying that you should not be attracted, okay? You should. I'm not saying attraction is not a thing because the truth of the matter is the Father will allow you to be attracted to what is necessary for you to go where you're going, okay? That's why you see sometimes you see some of the most beautiful women with some of the what some people would say are not the most attractive men, right? And you wonder to yourself, and sometimes vice versa, well, how did that happen? Because there was something that was seen other than just the physical in that situation. It's not just about the physical, but I'm telling you that the Father will give you a love for a person that makes you find them attractive in every way, whether we're talking about the physicality of the thing or not. And that also goes for the financial. That also goes for that, because I want to tell you this, man, that women are interested in more than just your financial and your physical. I'm going to say that again. And see, when you've been traumatized by unauthorized agents, then you'll think that you're looking at yourself for how you perform sexually. You're wondering if you will stand up to what is necessary in that environment, in that relationship. The enemy is able to take you in all kinds of directions to tear you, to split you, because you're not focused on the divine nature of the relationship and understanding what you need to become for this relationship to thrive. That's another part of this. The trauma creates this imaginary identity of things. And in the imaginary identity, you don't feel like you have to meet certain places or certain obligations, because this is just who you are, or this is just who you've become. But I would dare to bring you to the realization that part of what you've become is a result of the unauthorized relationships that you've been in. Absolutely. The Father will allow you to be attracted to what is necessary for his purpose. Absolutely. And women are interested in more than just financial and physical status. We absolutely are. I was in a relationship many, many years ago, and the relationship started out where everything was like really unified and we did everything together. And then the person crossed over into something else, which led me to identify the fact that something has changed. When you start out this situation where we do everything together, that gives me the impression that this is the kind of person that you are. And if that's something that I love, then that's exciting, for me, of that this is how we do things. That's how I love to do it. You like the same furniture I like. We go to the furniture store, we pick out furniture together. We are excited about the fact that our taste is similar, that we have the similar taste. We're excited about the fact that we like the same color coordinations for rooms, and the design of things is the same. But when the person crossed over into, I'm just going to give you the credit card and you go do whatever you feel like you need to do, I'm like, wait a minute, something has shifted. Because first of all, I didn't come into this relationship even giving the impression that I was about finances and not the relationship. So when you tell me I'm going to give you the card and you go do what you're going to do, you're telling me you have something that's more important than what you made a priority coming into the relationship. So now I'm questioning, okay? I'm questioning what's the position now? Where is this coming out of? What has now taken the place of the unity that we had in doing things specific to the house? What has taken the place of that? What is shifted? What is the shift? You know what I'm saying? And then men get into this place of defense. You want to defend yourself as if, oh, and I'm not saying that this was the case then. It wasn't the case for me then, but I know this to be a fact that a lot of men want to kind of lean into, oh, there's an insecurity there, or this is that, or this. Can I tell you something? One of the gifts of a woman is her ability to identify and define a thing. I'm not going to even just call it intuition, because a lot of people would like to reduce it to intuition as if it's some spooky spiritual thing outside of us. No, because we were given to the man to be a suitable help to meet something specific. He also gave us, and we were the first adversary of the adversary. The first one that the adversary was after was the woman. Now, he was after the man in total, mankind, but he used the woman because he understood her power. And so what is baffling to me is that the enemy can understand, absolutely prophetic insight, that the enemy can understand the power of the woman, but the man whom Yah created first, has no clue? Now, are you still asleep, Adam, or are you now awake and able to identify? Because the Father took man through this process of identifying things. He named it what he named it and then said, Adam, tell me what this is. That was his prophetic training. He wasn't asking Adam to name them. He had done that. And the Father never is requiring us, to do a thing that he hasn't done already. So I can clarify that for you. He asked him, what is this thing and what is that thing? To make sure that his prophetic insight, that his prophetic acumen was clear, to make sure that the divine pour that had been given to him, the divine breath, the pneuma that was given to him, was producing as it should. Okay? So the enemy is able to identify the value and the worth of the woman, so much so that he will use the woman to either help elevate the man or dethrone him, to help him become the king or to help him lose the kingdom. Are you hearing what I'm saying? The adversary understands the power of a woman, but most men have no clue. And one of the things that's really important in this season, men of God, is that you have not only an understanding of the woman, what she is, how she was created, how she's wired, but who she is and who she is to you. You got to understand that. She became the adversary of the adversary. So much so that the Father declares to the enemy that his real issue, his first issue, is with the woman and her seed. Did you hear what I said? I didn't write that. The Father wrote it, which means the Father also, before any of us, before the enemy, before the man, before the adversary, the Father understood the value in what he created in a woman. And this is why he created her, because he understood the value. So whatever you do in this season, do not reduce the woman to her sex. Do not reduce the woman to sexual pleasure. Do not reduce the woman to just, just saying a little prayer here or there. The woman is literally a protection. She's a defense for the man. She is a defense for you. Just like you are her savior, she is a defense for you. She's a rampart for you. She's watching you. She's watching your environment. She is aware of things. She is able to tell you what's going on in the environment when you're just excited about going into things and making the money, or you're just excited about a shift. And she's saying, no, there's something more to that. Don't reduce a woman to her form or her basic function, which you see as a basic function, which is her sexuality, because you're going to miss so much of what the Father put in her as a treasure for you. You know, the word talks about the favor that the man inherits when he finds a wife. And it expresses that he finds a good thing. He doesn't find a bad thing. He finds a good thing because he finds the wife. He finds the woman, the womb that is necessary. Blessings to you, Doris. Blessings. Good to see you tonight. He finds the woman that the Father designed to help him get to where he's going. And it's a two-way street. She's carrying some things as well. She's also carrying, but what she's carrying is an attribute of what you're carrying. What she's carrying is something that is compatible and comparable to what you're carrying. So these are things that you would walk in together. And I know a lot of men say, well, like say for instance, I'm an apostle. Maybe, the man is not an apostle. Well, he don't want to do ministry, or he don't want to do this or that. There's something that he's called to in this way. And this is part of the reason why we're connected, because there's something that he must realize about himself that he doesn't know, and vice versa, for a man. So I want to encourage you guys to be very mindful that you don't get stuck in a place where you are, I don't even know how to express this position, because it's so, I want to say this right. so religiously minded that you are no earthly good, because you can't be godly minded or heavenly minded and be no worldly good. That saying is really ridiculous. It's oxymoronic technically. But you can be so religiously minded and so man's traditionally minded that you are no longer any good. There's no good that you serve. You understand what I'm saying? For basic practical things every day, you can move yourself out of the realm of practical manifestation just because you are so religiously indoctrinated by man's rules and legislations and legalities, and that you don't have a clue what the Father is really saying to you. I want to say this as well, to the women, just in defense of the men tonight. Um, just based on the erroneous teachings that you have received, you've been looking for the perfect man. And when I say perfect, I'm talking about like he doesn't need any work. And there's no such thing. Okay? We are all in need of work. Matter of fact, one of the first works that we are going to be in need of is unifying. There's a merger that's taking place between the man and the woman. We've come from two different backgrounds, from two different places, two different parents, two different experiences in life. And now there's a merger that has to take place. You know, mergers in the merger contracts are necessary. Can somebody put that in a room for me? In the merger, in the business world, any merger requires absolutely ironclad contracts. And the problem is that most people are not willing to do the contracting, because contract means that there are parts that you are owning and parts that they are owning to make a whole in order for the business to thrive. So I am responsible for this. These are my areas of strength. This is what I'm bringing to the table for the merger. You are responsible for that. These are your strengths. This is what you're bringing to the table for the merger to make this one corporate entity, this one body, this one brand. And can I tell you something? That the brand that the Father is interested in with the man and the woman is the brand that expresses who he is to his people. The love that he has for his people is supposed to be expressed in the woman and the man's covenant, intimately relating in the world. And I'm telling you now that if that is not the picture that your relationship is painting, then you may need to go and relook at the canvas and consider making the adjustment. Because the Father's purpose for the merger, the Father's purpose for the covenant between the man and the woman is not so that you guys can share how many cars or houses you receive. And I'm talking a little off because I think I broke a tooth in the back and it's kind of cutting my tongue. Come on. That's that popcorn that I believe I was told that I shouldn't be eating anymore. But we're going to make the adjustment. See, I got to make the adjustment. Anywho, it's necessary that we make these adjustments. And the merger requires adjustments, and it also requires that we come together. There's a meeting of the minds. There's a meeting of the hearts. There's a meeting of purposes. There's a meeting of all of these things, and they require this conversation. I know a lot of men are in this place in this season. It's not. You're not the only man. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's in that place where you feel like, oh, I just don't talk a lot. Can I tell you something? There's no way for you to lead without speaking. Leadership requires conversation. You understand what I'm saying? If we're made in his likeness and image, men are good at hovering over things, but you have to understand if you're going to hover over it, then you got to have the right spirit, and then you must release something. There must be something that comes out of your mouth to redefine an environment. The word says that we were made in the likeness and the image of our Father. And what he does when he sees chaos is he hovers over it. He allows his spirit to hover over the situation. In other words, he's not having a bunch of feeling about it. He already knows that he's capable of making a change in the environment. He already knows that he has what he needs to make things different, right? He already knows that he's enough. to make the change, okay? And so he begins to hover over the situation, and then he begins to release something out of his mouth that changes the dynamic. I'm going to tell you something right now, man of God. Your words are more powerful than you realize. And it's funny because men are really apt to speak words when they're aggravated. You're more apt to speak when you're annoyed, right? But you don't understand the power of the words that are creative words to change the situation, to change the dynamic, to create and to cultivate and to perpetuate something. You know, a woman should never have to guess. Come on. A woman should never have to guess where her man is. A woman should never have to guess how he feels. It should constantly be being communicated in word and in deed, in word and in fact. You understand what I'm saying? Not I love you and I told you that already and I don't have to keep repeating that. No, you're going to need in different ways to express that. Whether it's verbally, every time you express it, verbal is necessary for a woman. Words water women. Somebody put that. Words are for the watering of the woman. And it's good. You know, I'm going to go back to this because it's funny that men know how to water when they want something. You hear what I'm saying? You watering when you want something, when you after something. You know how to water then, right? Because you're working something up. You're trying to get to something. But you fail to realize that watering has to continue throughout a relationship, not just after you get what you want. You understand what I'm saying? Not just after you get what you want do you have to water. You have to water beyond you receiving what you wanted because you want to constantly be receiving from this place. You want to constantly be able to for that thing to flourish so that you can continue to harvest. You can continue to make withdrawals. The man is entitled to his wife. He's entitled to anything that concerns her. And I know a lot of people don't like to use the word entitlement, but can I tell you something? Entitlement is something that you have a right to if you have made an investment. You are entitled if you make an investment. Can I tell you something? Your children are entitled if they make an investment. If my children make an investment in my company, then they are entitled to be cared for out of the proceeds of that company. You are entitled to what you invest in. So if a man is making investment in a woman, he is entitled to her. The word says it like this: the man's body is not his own. The woman's body does not belong to her. Well, how can that dynamic even work? Because we are individuals. Well, it works because there's a merger. It works because just we know where this and that fit, right? So everything else is the same. This is just a physical manifestation of how spiritual dynamics are supposed to be working in the relationship. Are you understand what I'm saying? So I want to speak to some of these things because they are pertinent in order for you to walk into this season of your life where you can identify your wife and know what you need to do to not only manage that relationship, but cultivate that relationship and keep it. Because it's easy for a man to jump from person to person because he doesn't have to consistently be himself. See, when yourself is in the way of your progress, you might need to change who you are. But a lot of men are they're more apt to jump from person to person because they don't want to deal with the self that they've become. The self that you become makes a woman speak to you about things, about certain things. It makes her speak to you about certain things. And if you don't want to be spoken to, then it's easy to just change the woman like you change your drawers. Right? I don't want this pair anymore. This pair is dirty. But when you change your drawers, you still have to wash your behind. Or else you're going to have the same issue with the new pair of drawers. And I'm comparing women to drawers right now because y'all understand what I'm saying as a man. If you streak the pair of drawers and you take them off and you don't wash your behind, you're going to have streaks in the new pair too. So wherever you go, you are. So if it's something about relationship that you have seen repetitively, it simply means that there's something at work in you that needs to be adjusted so that you don't continue to carry that dynamic into relationship after relationship. Not just jumping from woman to woman. Well, I ain't getting no respect over there. Why? Because she's confronting how you're functioning. No, it's not that she doesn't love you. And can I say this to you, man? When a woman doesn't agree with you, that doesn't make her your enemy. When a woman doesn't agree with how you're functioning, that doesn't mean she's your enemy. It just means that she is telling you that this is not the proper way to function. That this is not what she is interested in doing. That this is not the way of life that she's interested in building. That she's not in agreement with this. We need to rearrange um, this schematic. We need to rearrange this blueprint. Yeah, the tub is cool over there, but it would make more sense to put it here because the pipes are running here. You understand what I'm saying? That's not, I'm at odds with you. So never be in the position of, well, we just going to have to agree to disagree. That wasn't what the Father created the man and the woman, uh, the covenant for disagreement. He created covenant for agreement. Covenant is about agreement. So we will never, a woman will never accept agree to disagree. So if that's a conversation that you have with your mate, your significant other, often, but we just gonna agree to disagree, and you cool with going into your little corner and she goes into hers, that's diabolic. And the enemy is planting seeds of destruction of your relationship because the Father's design for your relationship was unified. Okay? It was for unify, not for divide. Okay? Only thing that happens in division is conquering. Okay? So because she disagrees does not make her your enemy. Okay? But, having that mentality comes from the trauma of former relationships that were unauthorized. And once you get in those unauthorized relationships and you have all these different bents and all these different ways of doing things that you had to do, now you got a man cave, and that was never your desire for your relationships, but now you done created a man cave, and so now you think perpetually throughout the history of your life with a woman, you got to have a man cave because a man needs to be separate from his woman. I'm not listening. Whoa, wait a minute. You can't base your unauthorized identity on a divine situation. You just can't do it. You should not do it. It will definitely separate you from what you need from the woman that the Father has invested in you. She's an investment. Your wife is an investment in you. The Father thought enough of you to invest a woman in your future and for your future. Take it very seriously. Don't take it lightly. It's not just a carnal thing. It's a very spiritual thing. It's a very spiritual thing. And I'm excited to have these conversations with you. I kept true, right? Come on. That's right. So you'll say, my theater room is not the bat cave. It should not be. It should not be. No. Because we're not looking to divide. And I'm not saying that we don't have times when we are just with the Father. But the purpose of covenant is for unity. And if your body is not your own, then how can your space be your own at this point? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just not logical that her body is yours, but your space belongs to you when you want it to be. Come on. Yeah, if you want space, you stay single. If you want to mate, then you're looking to connect. You're looking to unify. And I'm going to tell you right now that you will never exhaust all of the treasure in a woman. Just like she'll never exhaust all of the treasure that the Father's put in you for her. You won't. So don't make the woman common. Don't make her common. Don't try to treat her like you treat everybody else. Well, babe, I don't do this for anybody. Well, that has nothing to do with me. It's her mindset because I'm not any of those people. Don't try to make your marital relationship equal to every other relationship because it trumps everything you have going on. You understand what I'm saying? The Father considered the covenant so much that he was willing to share your mate with you. When she was single, she could just be with him and do whatever she wanted to do. Now she have to ask if she wants to put sex on pause to just be in a place. She can't just be like, well, the Father told me that I need to fast, so ain't no sex this week, buddy. If she's a real woman, she doesn't desire that anyway, right? But if the Father were to speak something like that to her, she would have to communicate. One, I believe he would communicate that to the husband as well. But there are things that she has to ask for. You understand what I'm saying? If she was before, she could just do whatever the Father was telling her to do. But even me as an apostle, As I'm coming into a new dynamic of my life, I'm going to have to inquire of my mate, my partner, the other part of the merger, the other half of the merger. When I'm getting ready to do something, it's not just, well, I was an apostle when you met me and I was this and that before you got here. Okay, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you can't submit, you should not subject yourself to the relationship. If you're unable to submit, if you don't see yourself submitting to a man, then don't subject yourself to the conversation. Don't subject yourself to any of the gifts. Don't subject yourself to any of that because you can't submit. You understand what I'm saying? Thank you so much for sharing, Doris. I appreciate you. Listen, there is a need for submission, and that happens on both sides of the fence, but I'm talking particularly to the man. You need to understand that it's not just your way or the highway. It's really not that. The Father will at times tell you, Abraham, talk to your wife. Hello? That goes for the man just the same. You know? I'm the man, so I make all the decisions. Okay. The final decision rests on you. But if we are partners, and this is a merger, and this is our brand that the Father has given us, then we need to communicate so that we can identify the direction. And you can tell me after we come into conversation and we, have this meeting of the minds, the hearts, and whatever other parts we need to meet on, right? What your final conversation, what your final decision is based on divine conversation. Okay? We have to submit. It's necessary. All right? I'm going to turn y'all loose. Feel free to put in the message window or in my DM areas, if you're a man, that you really feel like you need help in. Listen, I believe he called me to do this in this season. I believe it's needed. I believe it's necessary. Are you listening to me? Thank you guys for sharing. I believe it's necessary. And listen, I'm going to tell you something. If you cannot open up about where you are and who you are, then you will never identify the partner that is suitable to help you because you don't even know who you are. And you cannot identify who you are based on the unauthorized relationship that you've been in. Because I'm going to tell you something about unauthorized relationships. They take more than they leave. They take more than they leave, and they take more than they give. So you're often walking away from an unauthorized relationship less than what you started out with. Now, you built them up. I know this for a fact. I've lived through it several times. I brought more to the relationship that built a situation than what I walked away with. None of those people had anything in them to say, you know what, I need to make sure that if nothing else happens for us, that this person is okay because of what they built for me. That's devilish. The woman came into the relationship and she built you. Even if the relationship wasn't supposed to wind up in marriage, your thought should be, you know what, she built me. I need to make sure she walks away, not empty-handed, but with everything she needs to begin again. So even in saying that, that wasn't in my thought process when I began this thing, but even in saying that, can I tell y'all something? That might make you consider who you connect to. Because if you owed every person that you connected to, man, that you slept with, if it became a thing that you owed them to make them better than when they came into the relationship, maybe you wouldn't be so apt to connect because you'd be vetting the connection versus just getting the connection. Yeah. There's a lot of you guys in this season, you need to vet and not just get. You need to vet what you're getting. Okay? But because there have been no consequences, and I'm going to tell you right now, there are consequences, and part of those consequences is the payment that you've been paying in your singleness, in your loneliness. In this season is directly connected to the things that you were getting and not vetting. And your unwillingness to own your part, own who you are, because the consistent thing in those relationships was you, sir. Yeah, all of those women were not bad women. They just might not have been your women. And that's something that men have to face as well. You got to begin to identify what belongs to you and what you should not touch. Because when you get in unauthorized relationships, you're touching another man's wife. Even though she's not espoused to that person, she's not betrothed to that person yet, you are still touching someone else's property. You're touching someone else's wife. Are you listening to what I'm saying? You got to, as a godly man, consider all of these things. You've got to. Because it's for your betterment. It's for your furtherance. It's for your prosperity that you begin to vet and not just get. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, legacy matters, inheritance matters, all of these things matter. And the Father wants to make a withdrawal from your relationships. But if you keep connecting unauthorizedly to people, then there's no withdrawal he can make to show the world who he is and what his love for the world is. You understand what I'm saying? I love you guys so much. I'm getting off of here. I promise I wasn't going to be long. 45 minutes for me is not long. So that's good for me. But again, I'm not going to give you guys a date and a time. I'm not going to say I'll be on every Wednesday, because he might say to come on every day. And he just might say come on once a month. But however that looks, that's what I'm going to do in this season, because I believe that there is a necessity for the woman to speak into the spirit and the heart of the man in this season, to let them know that they are needed, that they are wanted, and that their voice is required. You'll notice that the man it's the unmuted man. There's a need for the man to be unmuted. There's a need for your voice in this season. And the Bible clearly describes, based on what the Father said, he made us in the image and likeness, that your voice is a necessity. Okay? And truthfully and honestly, the Father did not create the dynamic of the covenant just for the mechanics of it. You know, we can often go into the mechanics, and that's where this whole concept of the art that I created for the flyer came from. It's this man that he's man. You can see the manhood part of him, but then there's this mechanical side of him. And the mechanical side wants to operate. It's operating on a programming, but where's this programming coming from, right? And he's beyond the program. He has to be relational, okay? Because the program don't fit every scenario, right? And so the Father designed the man for relationship, not just mechanics, okay? It says here, healthy partnerships are built relationally and not mechanically. You understand what I'm saying? Thank you, brother. And if you're just tuning in, I encourage you to go back and watch the live. I believe it's going to bless you. And I believe this is the season. As the woman is taking her place and as she is coming out from under all of the captivity of all of these words that have bound her and kept her from doing her part in the earth, I believe that the man is equally the partner that is going to work in the earth in the season in tandem. We're going to work together and accomplish everything that the Father has ordained to be accomplished in the earth concerning his divine order and his divine creation. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being with me. If you're watching a replay, I'm appreciative of you taking the time. If you have not already gone to the YouTube channel, please go to the YouTube channel. We need to build the YouTube channel up, because at some point we need to be able to monetize that, because if I'm not asking you to give, the least I can do is expect you to support what I'm doing in certain ways, so that creates a monetization for the ministry, and so that we can continue to do what we're doing. Blessings to you, Apostle Omar. As well, I did my first TikTok yesterday. I know that that's something else that I've got to do in this season, and I want you guys to go and check it out. I think right now I'm on this nighttime thing, and what it's called is a non-alcoholic nightcap. So just my thoughts as I'm getting ready to go to bed, based on different things that the Father has given me. Go support that channel. Go and check my TikTok out. It is at the official. I'm gonna type it here. At the I don't know. I don't know what it is. At the authentic I don't know. I think it's at the official authentically. Yeah, I wish I could get the same name across the board. Yeah. Yeah. Go join that. Go join that on my TikTok. And I'll be getting Instagram and all that other stuff popping in different ways. We got lots of stuff coming down the pipeline. And if you feel that you're being led to be connected to ministry in this season, DM me. We'll talk. There is a need for the sons to connect in this season for the accomplishment of kingdom assignments. And so if you are believing that the Father is leading you in that direction, then let's talk. Let's communicate so that we can identify whether that be true or not. Right? Let's vet that. Let's not just get that. Let's vet that. I'm in that season of my life where everything has to be defined or it'll have to be declined because I don't have time to waste a lot of my energy and my focus. And, I don't have a lot of time to waste as far as things go. And I'm not talking about time in the way of my life being short. Um, no, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about blessings to you, brother. I appreciate that. I'm talking about in the way of being mindful of the time that I've been entrusted, um, considering and numbering my days differently now. So I don't want to waste a lot of energy on things that are not authorized. I want to spend my time doing the thing that the Father can get a withdrawal from, if that makes sense. That's what I want to do in this season of my life. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being in the room with me today. And again, as I stated before, just be tuned in. I will post it up. Sometimes it'll just be Facebook. Sometimes it'll be my StreamYard, but you'll see it. I'll post it up. And I may even create a Facebook page for this in this season because when I get ready to do a live, I want to make sure it's posted there and all that good stuff. But just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. I believe that this, if you watch it, is going to bless you. And it's going to begin to give you some different perspective on things. The Father wants to give you the perspective that's proper for your purpose in this season. Don't get connected and tied to and bound by who you think you are and what you think you know. He wants to give you the proper perspective for your purpose in this season. I love you so much. The body is not a me thing, it's a we thing. Let's go together in this season. Let's do this together. Let's accomplish these things together for the sake of the kingdom and for our Father's name's sake. He wants to make us great together. Let's go together and do this. All right? I love y'all. I love you, brother. Thank you so much for your support today. Uh, Prophet Doris, thank you again for being on the live. And all those that are outside the room, I honor you today and appreciate you taking the time to hear what the Father wanted to speak through me today. Peace to your house, y'all. I'll see you real soon. Peace.